Hello and welcome to this Dota 2 neutral item tier list for supports. It's not exactly a tier list, but I will be mentioning sort of every item and telling you what's the best choice for supports to take, whether you're 4 or 5, it kind of doesn't really matter. What does matter though is if you're a sort of a melee support or a ranged support, so there might be some differences there, but we will be discussing it. So tier 1, the best item in tier 1 is the Trusty Shovel. Firstly, you can get 4 very useful items. The Bounty Rune is really good, especially because now Bounty Runes spawn every 5 minutes, which means that they're rarer, so getting more of them is a good thing. Like, you get the same amount as last time, but you are able to get more of a resource that's rarer now, which is very good. Healing Salve is fantastic. Enchant Mangoes are good. You can take them for yourself. You can give them to allies. There's a lot of benefit. The Kobold is GPM for you. It's not a lot, but it's a very versatile thing because you can send it forward if you smoke. Like, it can scout out for you. So there is benefit to it. And you can also use it in the river to refill bottles. This is now nicer because we can't refill bottles when we teleport in. At 5, usually, like, we're going to get disrupted by, like, 6-7 minutes. It's not as much, it's not very relevant that you can dig, but it is nice to have. So Trusty Shovel is an S tier neutral item. Now, if we go next one, Occult Bracelet. This is very D tier to me. Whether you're melee or range, a lot of times supports will buy Tranquil Boots, especially now because you don't really have to upgrade Boots of Bearing. You can get like Tranquils if you just want it. Early on, it's the best for movement speed. Actually, it's kind of better if you want to make Boots of Bearing. But anyway, the problem with Occult Bracelet was before, I used to get this because I like 5% magic resistance and 3 or 4 all stats. I forgot. Now, I have to get hit 5 times to get 10 mana. It's not much. It's really not great. So Occult Bracelet is very D tier. I highly recommend not taking it. Okay, so Pig Pole is fine. A lot of my problem with it is that you're 4 seconds as a critter. If you're chasing someone, it's very bad because by the time you catch up to them, you're usually still a critter. It's very C tier. I don't love it. It's okay though. It's not bad. It's just meh. Mana Drought is very A tier. Firstly, the cooldown is reduced to 31 seconds if you're in the river, which is really good. Secondly, it gives you a lot of mana. Mana early on is premium mana regeneration for support. So having Mana Drought give you some is incredible. Like, it is a great item. You can give it to allies as well. It's not going to give you a massive amounts of mana, but it will give you a very nice amount, and I really like it. I really like it. Polywag Charm is very similar to Mana Drought, but it's for healing. It's fine. Standing in water gives you 10% movement speed. Like, how often? Like, that's good, but it's like, it's better than Pig Pole, but it's not much better. It's okay. It's just okay. I like Spark of Courage quite a bit. 10 damage. Early on, whether you're range or melee support, you are going to be throwing out some right click. So 10 damage does add up very nicely. 5 armor when they jump on you is pretty good as well. Like, the Spark of Courage, it's kind of like B+. It's not quite as good as Mana Drought, but if you get it and like there's no other options, you're like, I have to take Spark of Courage. You're like, it's alright. Ripper's Lash is the only one that's very hard to decide if it's good or bad because it's pretty small. The area is okay. The cast range is fine. Like, anyone can use it, but they take 12 damage extra from a hero hit. That's like, it's good, but it really works well if you have very fast attack speed heroes. Maybe like a Marcy would like it. But early on, it just seems like attack speed is very low for most heroes. I don't know how much value you're going to get. If everyone hits him, it's kind of okay. But General Ripper's Lash, for me, is hard to evaluate. It's a very difficult... I've tried a couple times. I was like, oh, it's okay. But I don't know. I feel it's meh. So far, it's kind of question mark for me. I'd love to hear from you guys if you think it's good or not. Then we have Orb of Destruction. Slightly, like, it's good or bad as compared to Spark of Courage. Slightly better if you are melee. If you're, Clock, Tusk, Bounty, Spirit Breaker, you get a little bit more benefit. It's very nice. 10% slow is not a lot, but 5 seconds is a long duration. Range supports. This is definitely more C. If you're a melee support, though, this feels like a very B tier item. So, if you can, take Shovel. If there's no Shovel, take Mana Drought. After that, personal preference between like Orb, Polywag, and Spark of Courage are all kind of solid items. Tier 2, 4 items stand out for supports. 2 of them are very S tier. The first S tier would be Essence Ring. Just instant 240 health for you. Very nice. It's just solid, good amount of health. At 15 minutes, if you can get it, it's really good. There's no bad situation. If you're ranged, they jump on you, good health. If you're melee, you're going in, good health. It's all good. It lasts 15 seconds. There's nothing wrong with it. High mana cost, but still very solid. The other S tier is Gossamer's Cape. I automatically dodge a melee attack every 6 seconds. Now, this is really, really good, and I've seen some people stick to this to up like tier 3, 4. Why? Because you can, if you're up against like Earthshaker, jumps in, enchant totem, pow, and you just dodge it. Templar Assassin, she jumps in with a big meld hit, you can dodge it. It's PA. There's a lot of really heavy hitters that Gossamer Cape works well against. Being tier 2, it almost feels like it should be a tier 3 item, you know? It's like tier 2 is like, they're not hitting that hard, but it's very, very good. I prefer Essence Ring a little bit more myself because it's good against like everything. Gossamer's Cape, sometimes it procs on like a Crystal Maiden hit. It's not as good, but it's still very solid. They're both S tier, but Gossamer is slightly more situational. The other two good items are Tumbler's Toy. Again, if I'm standing near a cliff, I can jump. Very good thing to have. Tumbler's Toy is fantastic. It does lose a point because it does get disabled, but being able to just jump is very nice. At this point, you usually have 4 staff, so Tumbler's Toy, 4 staff, you can move a lot. It's very fantastic, very A tier. The last I say A tier item is Searing Signet. It's A tier for specific heroes though. Basically, anytime I hit them with a spell, because most spells are going to do more than 40 damage, they will take an additional 75. If you're Zeus, you press R, everyone takes 75. If you are, using Arcane Curse, if you're Nature's Prophet with your ultimate, like there's a lot of value to Searing Signet, especially for AoE spells. And the thing is, it keeps refreshing on like damage over time spells. So like Jakir, if you dual breath them, it refreshes every dual breath. So it lasts more like 9 seconds, and you get an extra 40 damage, not 40 damage, like 60 damage out of it. So it does something like 135. It's really, really good. I like Searing Signet a lot. 2 items that I don't like very much is Brigand's Blade and Iron Talon. Okay, the audio from the YouTube video is slightly higher on my end, guys. I'll just reduce it a tiny bit. There you go, thank you. Alright, so Brigand's Blade is okay for like maybe Tusk. If they're low, you crit, boom, Marcy, it's kind of okay, but in general, you no matter what, at 50 minutes, you're going to start right-clicking less. It's still got some value. If you're like Winter Wyvern from range, you can throw out. It's good, but I just don't feel like it's that worth taking over the other 4 options. And because there's 6 items, you're going to get 2 of the options I mentioned every time. So Brigand's Blade is meh. If you guys know a good hero for it, to say so. But yeah, Brigand's Blade feels kind of C tier. Essence Ring and Gossamer are S. These 2 are A. Brigand's Blade C. And then on the D tier, we have Iron Talon. My problem with Iron Talon isn't that it does something bad. It does something very good. It helps you farm. But generally, I feel like you either should have a farming spell. You can use that. Secondly, you should be farming so much that I'm like, I need Iron Talon to farm. You're like, dude, you shouldn't be farming as a support that much. Like, you don't need that much. Maybe if you're up against like specific summons or something like that, it's good. But yeah, like maybe Nature's Prophet. That would be kind of good to get Iron Talon. But in general, I just feel like this is not worth it. Stick to the other 5 options are better. Tier 3, 1 item stands off miles above the rest, whether you're range or melee, but a little bit more if you're melee, and that is Gale Guard. Gale Guard is fantastic. You get a 400 damage barrier. Firstly, you're basically immune to slow. 50% slow, you're immune to slow. You're not going to be slowed. You're great. For 10 seconds, holy shit. And this 400 damage barrier, remember, barriers are amplified by resistances. So if you have high armor and high magic resistance, this is a lot. You're not blocking 400 damage, you're blocking like 500, 550. It's fantastic. Gale Guard is an amazing item. It's low cooldown. It's really, really good. Like, just the fact that you're immune to slows and you absorb damage, and you can maybe use it twice a fight if you have like an arcane rune or something. It's amazing. S tier, easy. A tier, you have Whisper of Dread. It's good because 10% damage is good, but and it's like I definitely take this if there are the other choices and if Gale Guard isn't there. Just sometimes 10% damage for some heroes is more valuable than others. Like if you're Oracle, you're not really benefiting from it, but if you're Zeus, you love it a lot. So while it is A tier, it doesn't feel, it's not A tier for everyone. So it's just kind of like good, really good sometimes, really meh other times. The other A tier items, Ninja Gear. I say that I tier them in that if you don't get the S tier, you should take one of these 2. Ninja Gear is good, but problem is that the smoke of the seat lasts 15 seconds. I remember picking this up. I was like, wow, this is good. It's level tier 3. That's great. I took it, and then 10 seconds later, I'm like, I'm out of smoke. What the hell? Cooldown's kind of long, duration's kind of short. It has no real combat value for you because you can't like use it in the middle of a fight. It's still decent just for moving around, but in general I found Ninja Gear to be meh. The other three options all feel very DPS heavy, like maybe Gunpowder Gauntlet is kind of okay if you are, like I said, Winter Wyvern, but most heroes it's not really gonna feel too good. It's worth taking it if you don't. And then, like I said, we're only 6 items, so you're gonna get 2 of these guaranteed. You're either gonna get, you know, Gale Guard and Gunpowder, or Gunpowder and Whisper, or Gunpowder Ninja Gear. I feel like Gunpowder, it's solid, but it's very like C tier. And then these 2 are very much no. You don't want these. You don't want these. In general, they're just not worth it. Sorry, Chiv is a little bit better. All right. Tier 4. Tier 4 also has, I would say, like 3 options that are stand out and 3 options that are whatever. But the S tier goes to Ogre Seal Totem. Firstly, it is 250 damage per bounce, so it's 500 damage. It's great movement. The damage doesn't matter. Like, to be honest, the damage is not really gonna be something you're not rarely gonna be like, I'm gonna jump in, boys. The damage is meh, but jumping twice is insane. It is basically a much better version of Tumbler Toad, which we put as A tier. And does damage and it slows. It's fantastic. Ogre Seal Totem is #1 in tier 4. Whether you're melee or range. If you're range, I can escape. If I'm melee, oh, I'm inside. Let me just jump around and do some damage. For A tier, you can take Ceremonial Robe, but Ceremonial Robe is much better if you're melee, like say a Spirit Breaker or a Bounty Hunter or a Dawnbreaker when you're in the middle of a fight. Range heroes like Phoenix could use him, but most of the time, the radius is big. But you might actually be far enough that you're not going to hit everyone with it. You might hit like the enemy melee guy. It's good, but it is somewhat situational. Melees, it's A tier. Range, it's like B. But this Magnifying Monocle, we flip it around. A, if you are range, you love this. This is fantastic. 125 extra cast range and 100 extra attack range. And remember, attack range is valuable for some range heroes. Like, I mentioned to Wyvern a lot, but like Silencer would love this as well. Like, extra attack range is pretty good. Snipers, if you are playing range, it's not really a grief, it's okay. The Magnifying Monocle is good. And just the extra cast range is fantastic. Melees, a lot of them will be like, it's fine. But definitely amazing for range. If you're not getting Ogre Seal Totem, you want to take one of these 2, depending on whether you're melee or range. The other 3 are okay. This is very much a... like, it's anti-heal if you're up against Huskar, but... at 35 minutes, I don't know. I really don't. I feel like this is, it's very situational. Mindbreaker solid for the silence, but again feels more like a melee item. Now Peric, I think is the cloak is interesting. This is the one that I'm also a little confused with. Same with Ripper's Lash. If you're a very tanky support, like let's say you're playing Primal Beast, you know, Tusk, Clockwork. You jump in, you throw it on someone who doesn't have a way to dispel. I'm not actually sure if it's dispellable or not, but it does have value. You basically make it so that 60% of the damage you take, 60% of your health is translated straight away to damage to the guy you use it on. That's pretty good if you're very tanky. So it could be good. Like, it could be really solid, but it's also, again, very situational. I don't rank it as much as Ceremonial Robe, Magnifying Monocle, or Ogre Seal Totem. So this is S, A, this is B, this is kind of like B-, and this is definitely like, don't take it. For tier 5, at tier 5, most games aren't gonna last too long. I feel like any item you take is gonna be good, and there's a lot of options, but the best 2, in my opinion, would be if you can get Minotaur Horn. 2 seconds magic immunity is fantastic. Most sports aren't gonna get BKB. It's just really solid, doesn't like have a very long cooldown. It's very good. The other item is Book of the Dead. It's really solid because of the summons. It's a bit long cooldown, but you have very low downtime. 75 seconds duration, 8-second cooldown. It's just really solid. I like it. Good in fights. Just, it's good. After that, I think you can take something like Fallen Sky and Spider Legs. Spider Legs is great for moving around, but as a support, you tend not to be as mobile as cores. Like, you're not moving around as much. You are going to be moving somewhat, but it's good. I like Spider Legs. Like I said, it's A tier. Now, I'm just saying it's not as good as maybe the other 2. And it's very situational. Tier 5, I don't play so many games that reach 60 minutes where you can actually have an accurate assessment of these items. So we are definitely the hypothetical. Well, these I can say like, oh, I played a lot of games. I have a lot of experience. 8k MMR, blah blah blah. I played a lot. I know how valuable these are. Here it's a lot different. 60-minute games are rare and it's hard to be accurate. Fallen Sky is good just because it's kind of like a it's like a blink, you know. It's blink with damage with stun. It's good. I like it a lot. It tends to be more offensive though than Spider Legs, which makes it a little bit less versatile, but still very much A tier. After that, what do we have? A Magic Lamp. Magic Lamp's pretty good if people jump on you. I guess I put it also with A tier. This is unpickable if you... This is kind of unpickable as well. These feels like very frontline core items. And then Pirate's Hat. Okay. I mean, it's... You steal gold. At 60 minutes, gold is an irrelevant factor. It sounds weird, right? Like you've seen games when you're 20k ahead in 20 minutes, that means you won. But to be fair, 60-minute games have a very different rule set, and gold doesn't matter, only buybacks matter. And very rarely will 150 gold swing you in that favor. Teams, when they go high ground to end the game, they're going to have more than 150 gold, like, you know, as in their, not on the stash, as like safety net. They're going to have a few thousand, 7,000, and buyback costs like 3. So it's not going to make much of a difference. So Pirate Hat looks really good on paper, but it doesn't really matter too much. The passive's kind of nice, but I'd rather not die. And the other items help me not die. Minotaur's Horror helps me not die. Book of the Dead, I can stay behind. Spider Legs helps me not die. Magic Lamp helps me not die. Fallen Sky helps me not die. So these 3 items I'd say avoid. Of these, you're gonna get at least one of these items, right? You might get these 3 and +1. Just take that one. If you have to rank them, Minotaur and Book of the Dead are S. The Spider Legs, Magic Lamp, and Fallen Sky are like A, and the others are just unpickable for supports. Tell me if you enjoyed this video, if you thought it was insightful or helpful. I want to make more of these, but it really depends on if you think it's worth it or not. For now, I'm Atomo. Thanks for tuning in. Bye-bye.